Welcome to the Man Cave Podcast with Dan Casper.
It's that time of year.
It's that time of year. So yesterday was arbitration deals, right? They were announced, and majority of the Brewers players got, they agreed to a settle or a deal or
agreement. Yeah, an agreement for the next year.
Yeah. So like Bryce Terang, Andrew Vaughn. So let's start with that one too, because a lot of people are like, why are the Brewers paying Andrew Vaughn like $3 million more than Bryce Terang? And there's more to it than that, right? It's not that the Brewers think Andrew Vaughn is better than Bryce Terang.
Right, no. And the arbitration process is always, honestly, it's always worth explaining.
Yes.
Just because it's completely different than everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of confusing when you see that.
Right.
And really what happens is once you get to arbitration, basically your number always goes up.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew Vaughn being a little older than Bryce Terang, a little more experienced, like his number has just gone up. Like that's not it's not always necessarily a reflection on
the talent.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, look,
a little bit plays into it.
Look, obviously, Andrew Vaughn came in, did a lot of great things last year, but I think we both think that Bryce Terang is probably more of a cornerstone for this Brewers team than Andrew Vaughn is.
Right.
And that's kind of what it comes down to is, most of the time, I don't even want to put a percentage on it, but most of the time, teams and players agree to deals before you get to arbitration.
Right.
They kind of exchange numbers, and they generally try to meet in the middle a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just, there was a deadline earlier on in the offseason where you will agree to offer arbitration if you don't come to a deal.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't, then that player gets released and they're a free agent.
Right.
So, but there's just kind of steps in the process, and this is a big step, and obviously for the Brewers because most of the people that were arbitration eligible were re-signed for a year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure we'll get to it, but one that wasn't
was Contreras.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean he's going anywhere. It just means that it goes to the next step, which is they can still talk between now and their arbitration hearing, which I think is in February. I think.
Mm-hmm.
So they can
they can still have an agreement.
They can agree to a deal next week if they want to.
Right.
But
because didn't they do that last year? I feel like
it happens. Yeah. It happens. So that's pretty common too.
Do you think a lot of people are, because he goes to Twitter and posts like "wow" with a couple of weird emojis, so it's like, oh no, now he's pissed and wants out and all that sort of stuff. So
I'm sure baseball off season, you don't really get a lot, especially if you're a Brewers fan, to kind of react to.
Mm-hmm.
So, but ultimately, it's going to get figured out. He's going to be, they'll probably agree to something. My guess would be even before arbitration. Like I think they were $1 million-ish apart because you have like the player representation and the team representation each file a number.
Yep.
That they think a player's worth,
mm-hmm.
and obviously there's some different there now.
Yeah, Contreras was 9.9. The player representation team was 8.55.
Okay, so a little bit, $1.5 million.
It's not like Tariq Skubal where it was $32 million versus 19.
I was going to say that is that might be the most I've ever seen.
Yeah,
where you've got two people that are two camps
sides,
that are $13 million apart. Like, and obviously, look, if it goes to arbitration, ultimately, it's probably going to honestly, I would kind of lean maybe a little bit more towards Skubal's camp when you look at just how good he is.
Yep.
But this is just kind of become part of it. Obviously, the Corbin Burns year, I think, maybe kind of inflamed a bunch of people to kind of the process.
Because that was like less than $1 million apart, wasn't it?
It was.
Something?
And then, so like you're going to, ultimately it's going to get done.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not something I'm too concerned about.
Right.
But again, right now, the Brewers offseason, there's really not a whole lot to talk about.
Right.
So it is newsworthy because it's with one of their best players, but still, it's nothing I would be losing any sleep over.
It's like Tyler Stevenson's here's $6.8 million versus $6.55.
Right, and that's I think we've seen that kind of a time or two in the past with the Brewers where people are like, okay, what's the difference? That's $250,000. Like, what's the difference? Obviously that's a big difference to you and me and most of our listeners, but for baseball players and baseball teams, like, what's that difference? Like, well, there is, but.
And the weird thing, because Jeff Passan put out these numbers, and he actually has a piece up there too about the Skubal one. And Detroit actually offered the largest salary ever for an arbitration eligible pitcher, as well as the largest raise for a pitcher. But still, $13 to $19 million.
Right.
So that's quite the rate. But he's in a unique position too with this as well. So I can kind of get it too. But yeah, I wanted to make sure to kind of touch on that a little bit because I think you see a lot of people freaking out about it from that, and it's like what are they doing here? Why are they doing this? Why? It's a process.
Right.
It's part of the process at this point. So. Other than that, yeah, I mean, so Brewers-wise, though, too, I wanted to get your thoughts on the new pitching or the new coaching staff that was, I think, released last Friday after we were off the air.
I think it was earlier this week.
Was it earlier this week?
I think it was at the start of the
Actually,
week.
I think you're right, yeah. But nonetheless, so you've got pitching coordinator Jim Henderson now, pitching coach Chris Hook. Chris Hook is still the leading pitching coach, even though coordinator sounds higher. Yeah. But reading Matt Arnold's comments where he said, Henderson's going to be more involved in kind of like the game day stuff with Pepper. They don't have the bench coach or associate manager, but I get the sense, is it Jim Henderson's like the next in line?
It almost kind of sounds like it's more of just a collaborative thing.
Yeah.
As opposed to like that one go-to, which if and when Pat Murphy gets kicked out of a game, it'll be interesting to see who takes over.
Right. And because the other person I was going to kind of break, because they got like an offensive coordinator now too. So it gave the impression where it was like, yeah, it's Jason Lane, offensive strategy coordinator.
Right.
So it's almost like, okay, Pat Murphy gets out. Jim, you take the pitching side and Jason Lane takes the other side sort of thing. But
yeah, it's interesting because you're seeing some, titles that you don't hear about a lot in baseball.
Yeah.
So it's unique. It's a unique approach to it.
Mm-hmm. And then, obviously, Daniel Vogelbach, I think that's probably the name everybody recognizes coming over to be one of the 3 hitting coaches. There's a lead hitting coach, and then Vogelbach is with Martinez as one of the other hitting coaches, too.
So, yeah, I mean, essentially, you've kind of got it's almost like the head coach, so to speak, of the hitters, and then a couple assistant coaches in there. So,
but a new first base and third base coach too, right?
Yeah, that was where Jason Lane was. Moved him off third base. I think Matt Erickson goes to third base.
Yep, and then Spencer Allen's at first base.
Right, and couple things. First of all, on the Vogelbach front, he was someone that, because I think last year he was just like he was a coach with the Pirates, but he was someone that had kind of caught the eye of teams as far as being a coach, which I know obviously there's been some Brewers fans that'll obviously remember Daniel Vogelbach like, well, he wasn't a super great hitter. It's like, well, that's not always the case. I mean, you think of sometimes there are hitting coaches that were great former players. Sometimes, a lot of times, there's not.
Right, exactly.
I mean, I point to someone like Craig Counsell as a manager.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes it's not always the best players that make the best coaches.
Well, look at Kevin O'Connell in football.
Right, exactly. He had kind of a brief NFL tenure.
Dan Campbell.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's not always. It's not the future Hall of Famers of the world.
Right. Bart Starr wasn't the greatest head football coach. I know I'm using football examples here, but, it's, yeah.
But, I mean, Rod Carew, an amazing player, but, as a coach, it just, it never got to that same level.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, just sometimes that's, kind of how it is. Like, some people can do, but it's tougher to tell you how they do it.
What's that phrase that you hear a lot? Those who can do, those who can't do, teach, or something like that, or coach.
Right. And, I mean, the thing I will say about Vogelbach is, as a hitter, he was always patient, and he had a good knowledge of the strike zone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's a big old man. He's a big old dude. So, like, he was, certainly more of a power hitter and a patience guy.
Right.
But, I mean, that's just kind of maybe a little something just different to bring to the staff.
Right.
As far as just kind of maybe a different look. And, you talk about the changes at first base. I think that one to me is interesting because that one to me, it seems like maybe there's a bit of an intent there as far as, last year the Brewers had a significant drop off when it came to their base running, specifically stolen bases. They just didn't steal as many bases as they did, the year before, and the percentage was down a little bit. Now,
was that because Barry was?
I would put a lot of that. I think Quentin Barry was excellent at that. He was the first base coach and went to join Craig Counsell's staff in Chicago, and I think there was a drop off there. I mean, remember in 2024, Bryce Rang, I think 50 steals. And you had they were still aggressive and they still steal bases, but it wasn't that same volume. So maybe this is a way to try to maybe get back a little bit closer to being that team that's more aggressive, especially when it comes to stealing bases.
Right.
And I've seen some people kind of talking about Jason Lane, and there's been times where maybe there were some sends and not sends at third base, but I just feel like that's kind of the nature of the beast at the position. People did the same thing. for people in that spot before. Like it's a tough position. Like
it's tough.
Nobody's ever like, man, I love our third base coach. Right. They always make the right decision,
except for Ed Cedar.
Well, and even I think even Ed Cedar got some flack, but people just loved Ed Cedar.
He just exactly.
So,
yeah.
But like
it wasn't because of what he called or didn't.
No, that's just a tough spot to be in. Yeah, the double wave, but like. Because if someone gets thrown at third base, it's what are you doing? If someone doesn't get, if someone gets held at third and you think they might score, what are you doing? It's like it's one of those spots. It's just so tough to win when you're a coach in that spot. Yeah,
it's the closest to like a head coach or a play caller.
Right?
Yeah,
I would say like a play caller in football. Like why are it's. I mean, you've experienced this year, I'm sure, with Matt LaFleur and the Packers. I've experienced it with Kevin O'Connell and the Vikings. It's like. When things don't go well, people are like, well, that was dumb. Why'd they call that play? It's like, why aren't they calling? And then when they do well, it's like, he must be calling all the good plays. Like, that's not that simple. It's not just, he's calling the good plays in this game. It's like, well, there's more to it than that.
Right. Yeah. So, no, I agree. So, good stuff there. We're getting close, though, too. I'm getting Brewer stuff for radio and all that. So, we are getting close to spring training.
Usually the Brewers pitchers and catchers report usually around Valentine's Day, somewhere in that area, and then a week or two, and then you'll have some games. Usually it's kind of like that last Saturday of February.
Yep. So it's coming up here hot and heavy, man.
So hopefully sometime sooner than later we have something of note to talk about. Well, no offense to Akil Baddoo and Angel Zerpa, but
something that you have said before. It's like when we get to spring training, the Pat Murphy contract, right? I mean, that's
something that
nobody's really been talking about it.
No.
So I don't know. Maybe it's done and they haven't said it, but it's still kind of, I know you brought it up a while ago. So
yeah, I mean, for the next 6 weeks, it's not a big deal. But if something happens where you show up to spring training and that still hasn't been finalized, that they're going to be asked about it.
Hey, when he's in Eau Claire next week, you should ask in a
Q&A. Ask Justice.
Yeah.
He's going to be leading that thing, right?
Yep. So